Hello. Sorry for the late start. Yes, Bryce, there is. I'm here. I'm running all over the place. All right. We're ready. I gotta get things set up. Only take a second here. Get into box. Look at all the work.
Friends.
You doing all right, Bryce? If you're still here. All right, I'm gonna download this stuff. Oh, I got some readmes before critiquing. All right, we'll get to that in a minute. I look sweaty. I might be sweaty. Todd, do you have something to share? I noticed you were working on something when I walked by. All right. Well, you put something in there, Bryce. Let's look at yours first. On your way camping. Where are you gonna go camping? I'm excited. It's more interesting than what I'm doing. All right, not bad, Bryce. So here's are my big notes. So I can tell from looking at this that if we looked from the front view, we've got our hips and we've got our feet, and the feet are picking up, right? Fredericksburg, nice little hill country, central Texas. Your feet pick up, and they're picking up along this plane, right? So they're on the ground, they lift up, but they're kind of lifting up along here, and then they're setting back down along here, if that makes sense. So if we look back here, so see how that foot, it's along the plane. It's along the plane. So think of it as there's just this plane that is running here. If we looked at it this way, you'd have a plane like this, right? Your foot is staying along this plane. And our feet move in and out. So when you've got a really wide stance like this character does, and if you're going to leave them there, I mean, you could always shift them, right? You could shift them so they're more like this if you wanted to. But if you leave them and you lift your foot up, the natural thing that's going to happen is the foot is going to shift in. It's going to swing in, and then it might come back and plant out. So you pick it up, it swings in, and then you come and plant. If you did it the other way, right? If you did it so that you moved those feet naturally in, when you lift your foot up, it tends to swing out, and then it'll plant back. Swings out so that you don't kick yourself kind of in the calf or the ankle. Swings out, and then it comes back in. So those are the kind of things that are happening within the feet. You don't want them traveling along this plane and only staying on that one axis, if that makes sense. So there's that, and then there's number two, which needs to happen, And that is when you have these feet and they're really wide and they lift up, what needs to happen weight-wise? So like, or balance-wise. If you lift this foot up and you don't move your hips and this is the foot that's in contact, what's going to happen? You're going to fall over, right? So, in order to stay balanced and to not fall over, when you lift this foot up, your weight needs to transfer over this foot so that you can stay balanced. You know, however high you're going to lift that foot, you don't have to lift it that high. Could just be as simple like this, but the weight has to shift over. So when we look at this, let's go through here. You're getting the rotation, but we're not getting the translation. So when you look at this, he wants to fall over. Okay. Oh, so you haven't added it to the feet, and then we also want to add it to the hips. So really, your hips need to be kind of over here. And you can still keep that same kind of walk. Obviously, if you keep the feet really wide, there's nothing wrong with that. You will have more left to right translation in the hips because it just has to travel further, right? If you've got the feet close in, then there's very little movement that has to happen left to right or side to side to stay over or stay balanced. If they're wider, you just have to move further. Those are the two things that you've got to do on this. Beyond that, you're fine. Hey, Michelle. How are you? Does that sound good, Bryce? You're in great shape. Let's just get that side to side going. Bryce, it is not due on Monday. Just so you know. It is due on the 14th. So we will have class on Monday, and we will still, I'll critique it in class, but it isn't going to be due until the 14th, which is a Tuesday. That's when I'm having all my classes turn in their final stuff. So you've got time, plenty of time, to make this thing for Todd real nice. I'm doing well. All right, so hey, you can still turn it in on the 6th if you want. It's up to you. You can be done if you want to be done. All right, let's see here. Hey, Autumn just put something in. What's up, Autumn? If you're there. All right, so I've got Autumn, I've got Caitlin, and then Samar put something in there. I don't know if Samar will be here. We're going to go through all of the animation, all the walks. Yes, Michelle, everything will be due kind of on that 14th. And yes, I know I need to get those critiques to you. That's what I'm going to be doing basically from the time I get off of this until I get them all done. I'll get all those to you so that you know what to do or which ones you'd like to do. So I'll be kicking those out as fast as I can. All right. Oh, look at all the people we've got on here. Like 4 of us. All right. Autumn, I don't know if you're here, but you just popped something in, so I might assume you're here. Let's look at this. Autumn, looks pretty good. Still have that problem where your hips are getting a little bit too far forward and it's happening here, right? I just need to shift it back because when we're in this same position later on You're not stretched out. So like here, that's the same position. It's that same contact position, but you can see this is much more stretched and we're much more on top of that front foot. Hey, there you are, Autumn. So this needs to look, sorry, let's say this, whoop, yikes. This pose needs to look like this pose in terms of your hips. There's just something that's getting off about it. You know, if you want to be real picky, you could look at that back foot where it like pops up and then kicks out. Uploaded the wrong file. No problem. You let me know when it's in there, and we'll take a look at that one. I'm going to look at Caitlin's right now. I don't know if Caitlin's here. But Caitlin, you're getting a critique. Caitlin, what is going on? All right, you had a note. Your note was... That's not your note. Different thing. You use translate Z way too much at the beginning of the walk when you started. Is there a way I can fix that without having to start all the way over? Okay, so here's what it looks like. I'll say, Caitlin. It looks like you're animating the global control. In fact, I would bet money on it that you're animating that global control. And the reason why I say that is if this were moving forward on its own and this were moving forward on its own, the relationship between that right there would probably be varying, and it's pretty consistent in how it's moving, even when you get into this. So I think you're animating your global control. That's what I would say. And the disappointment is immense. From whom? Hey Sam, how are you? Sam, do you have something to show? You just here for the jokes. Sorry, back to you, Caitlin. In order to fix this, you need to select that global control and delete all those keys. You don't want that moving, because what's happening is, well, obviously everything is moving forward all at the same time. And so we know when we walk, right, like pretty much that toe should never go forward from there, you know. This foot is on the ground. We don't slide forward. So just like here, right, we're not moving forward here. We need to be attached to that ground. So then you plant that, and then we're moving forward again. We just need to eliminate all that, because when that foot plants on the ground, it's not going to move forward. It's solid to the ground. It's stuck there. Todd's on here, I believe. He was at the beginning. He was chatting. He is not technically on this stream. He just might pop in the chat. If you really need him, I can bang on the wall and tell him to get on here. So anyways, Caitlin, that is your issue. And you might have other things going on in there, but that's the number one thing you got to fix, right? Because he's just sliding along the ground rather than really taking steps. This is magic time. It's like he's got roller skates, and when he plants, he's sliding, right? So we got to turn that off. If I'm wrong, and you're not animating that global control, then the translation on, you got three things that are moving you from right to left or moving you forward. It's the both feet and the hips. Those are the only things that should be moving forward on this. So if you're not moving that global control, you're not keying that or animating it, then you just got to dump those keys that are sliding everything forward. Okay? So I would encourage you to go back, I think, and check out the demo of this walk cycle. It should be in one of your PDFs from the walk lecture. So there should be a demo in there of the vanilla walk, but a vanilla walk is still structured the same way as what you're doing here with the snake. You're just changing the poses. Okay? If you have any problems, well, let's make sure we look at this on Monday, okay? Play blasted the correct one, nice. Let's look at that. I assume it is the unfinished one now. Wait, you did a different one. Did you do a new one? What was wrong with the other one? The other one was practically done. Overachiever. You wanted to do 2. Hoping for extra credit. All right, there's some good things here. There's a couple issues. So the good thing, I like the movement of your hips. That real reach, like that rotation within there. The two things that are happening that I'm not a fan of right now, probably a little bit too stretched here, but this back foot, it's like it's stuck in the mud or stuck in gum, right? And we need to soften that up like this, where it's like it's really stuck and it's gonna pop off. So you gotta release that foot. Like this foot can be off the ground by here. The weight is far enough forward on here for you to pick that foot up and go, and then we don't get that feeling of it's stuck and then snaps. So that happens with your feet right now. I think again you're probably stretched just a little bit too much here on those forward feet. So the last thing, the other thing that was bumping me just a little bit is this, where we need to keep it moving forward just a little bit. It's getting a little sticky. It's a little sticky on the feet, and it gets a little bit sticky on the hips right here. You hit this position, stick, and it has a brief pause. I would like you to flow through that one just a little bit more so that you don't hit it and then go. It's like it gets to that position, tiny hold, and then we take back off. So we just want to flow through that just a little bit easier. And it's a real subtle thing, because it's not like you're holding for 5 frames or anything. It's just like, yeah, it's like a 2 frame, like real slow down where it's stuck in there and then it goes again. So that's it. The other double bounce obviously is a whole lot closer, and you just got to get the hips back under control by the end, because you're off balance here, so it's just too far forward. We just need to sit like right here. Okay? And then I think I said one other thing about like the release of the foot. If you're being picky like that, see how we're on the ground here. We should pivot from that toe and then come up, and this does pops up and then rotates back in place, and then it comes forward. So it gets a little bit clunky on that back step. Let's watch this. See, it's not doing it here. It's not doing it with this one. This is pivoting and coming forward. So let's watch this one. Yeah, this one's doing the same thing. See how it pops up, rotate. It actually goes backwards a little bit, rotates, and then comes forward. You updated the double bounce too? Oh man. Oh, you did. Version 2. I didn't see that. All right. Downloading. Ignore all of those notes. Let's replace and close this. Get out of here. Hold on. Well, look at you. So the hips are fixed, right? That's a good pose right there. So good job on that. You do have a little bit of that foot still happening right here. So it like pushes this way, pulls back, and then you get the rotation. But again, if we look at this other foot, it's not doing it. That's it. It's just that little foot thing. So you can technically copy. It's a little bit complicated, but I definitely have done it. You can copy this foot and paste it to this. It's complicated because there's this line, right, where on one side is positive and one side is negative. So sometimes the numbers have to be flip-flopped. You got to put a positive where there's a negative, and then you also have to offset all the way, like for the full step. Because if you just did a copy-paste, they'd be doing the same. When one lifts up, the other one would lift up too. You'd have to offset totally, but that would get your feet doing the exact same thing. Or you could just fix the problem and then in that one leg and just get it as close as you can, and that's fine too. But you just got to fix that little back foot on the right leg. Blink, right there. Copy the keyframes, not geometry. So you would just do a, you just select that IK foot. Again, it's a little bit complicated. Make sure you save it. Save it first. You would copy it, the whole timeline. Select this. I would delete all those keys. If this is what you're going to do, delete all those keys, then copy paste this to that. But it's going to be funky because some of those numbers need to be either positive or negative. They need to be the opposite of this. And I don't know which. I don't remember which one. Some of those need to be, and I don't remember which ones they are. You can sometimes do a function in the graph editor, like a grab all the values, do like a times -1 or something, and that will like switch everything to a negative or a positive. Or you could just manually just go in and do it on all those. Again, what I'm telling you right now is a little bit complicated, so you don't have to do it. And you might get stuck. You might it might break on you. But you can definitely do it. And that will ensure that your both legs or feet are doing the exact same thing. But it might be easier just to go in there and adjust those like 5 frames and fix those, and that'll work too. That might be an easier solution, or at least less technical, trying to figure out math and all that stuff. Okay? You're real close. That's a good walk right now. Fix that foot and you've got almost a great walk. Okay? All right. Let's see what else we have in that folder there. Got anything new? Just checking real quick. All right. so that is all of our walks, and I have all right, I'm sorry, I have a big readme. For a file shot is a pretty rough state. That's why. Sorry. Watching a live stream of someone reading is not interesting. It's a long note. All right, so if you spend some time over break, what will give you the most bang for your buck? And recommendations for smaller things to focus on. Okay. Sounds good, Summer. Let's Michelle, you have one revision from phase 1 and another revision from phase 2, and then I'm going to let you do some things in phase 3, which is why I've got to get all those critiques for you as soon as I possibly can. So you can redo more than one thing, or revise. I don't want to say redo. So go ahead and pick the one. If you're wanting to do revisions, go ahead and start with your phase 1. I'll create a folder for all of those, and you can dump them in there as you get them done, or you just put them all in on the 14th. But I'll send an email out about that to make sure everybody understands all of that. All right, let's look at Sommer's. Yeah, basically something like that, Michelle. All right, Sommer. All right, so you got part 1, right? Part 1 is the lift coming in, and that looks really good. I mean, it looks super heavy, all of that. That looks really good. And then we've got that quick. So I'll say just one thing. Sometimes it's good, like your character has stopped the lift process. So you have that beat or that phrase, if you want to call it that. And a lot of times you want to make sure you're showing your character thinking. Yes, Autumn, it's very good. I'll play it through and let you watch the whole thing. He's not quite done with it, but it's very good. This is Sommer. He is in animation 2 right now. So it's important to show a character thinking, and a lot of times that needs a little bit of time. Now you have a break in your phrase or in your between beats, however you want to term that. But it goes from this pose straight into that idea, right? And so sometimes this will be your choice. You know, if you're down there, something moves and you hear it, you want to show that the character processes that. So it's like, huh? Right? You turn and look, like, what did I hear? Think about it, boom, then they go. And right now it is I'm down here and I'm just snapping into that. So it's almost like I sort of already know what it is. Though you could also say, how does he not know what it is? Because he's bringing this giant sword to kill this dinosaur. But sometimes that's good to make sure that you're showing that a character is thinking about it or sees something, is going through that thought process, and now they're going to react to it. Okay? That is great. Done. So like the pull in, great, done. This move here, great, done. I wouldn't change it. This looks pretty good. You have a little bit of a snap that happens on that hand that goes to the sword. That could be something that you finesse just a little bit, but you know, not a ton there. So on this lift, one of the things that I might recommend as you go in here, so looking at these hips, they dip down and then you come up. But if you think about it, all the weight is still way out here. It's way out in front. And when you lift heavy weights, you want to bring that back to the center where it's balanced. Because let's say, how strong do you have to be to lift something when it's way out in front of you versus when it's really close to your feet? You can lift more when it's closer to your feet because you're on balance. If you lift this up, you got to be real strong, like really strong, or it doesn't weigh very much. So when we look at that and he lifts up, one of the things that I think would be better is these hips need to scoot back. So, and you don't want to just scoot them back. What you want to do is work it into this. Right now, they swoop and come up, and you need them to swoop and come back so that we're further back, because he's lifting this way out in front of him. Those arms probably need to be a little bit like that, if that makes sense. I would try to curve all of this a little bit more. You're getting some kind of hard angles in there. So let's watch this again. Looks pretty good. I think that foot gets stuck in the air just a little bit too much because your body starts to move, but that foot's, it felt for a second like there's something there and they're putting that foot there. So move that foot just a little bit more. Don't have it stick in place. Now for me, it feels like he's like sawing through something right now rather than the like the hard, like you need that hard hit of it. Like I've generated a ton of force and it's gonna stop. That doesn't mean you can't have like a little bit of reverberation or anything, but right now it feels like he's like hitting it and like still like pushing his way through it, so it has less of an impact. Be careful with your sword right here. You're going to start that rotation up just a tad bit early. See how it's moving up already? It's last. He's going to swing his body around and pull this around. Right now, this sword is leading, which basically means like if you had this back here, you're rotating with your wrists to get that up, and it's leading the action versus pulling. Think of a lumberjack, right? They're going to swing their body, create that momentum, and then pull that around to get really strong. A strong hit, a strong impact. Right now, you're rotating that up early. Not as much force that's going to happen right there. You need to use your whole body. So it's just rotating just a tad early. Okay. Whoa, almost choked right there. Dying over here. Need a drink of water. Okay, that looks pretty good. So you asked, what's the biggest bang for your buck? I would probably, for me, I would finish your dinosaur, and I would set dress your stuff. all of your stuff. That's what I would do, honestly. Because this assignment, your last one with running to the car, I'm trying to remember what the other one was. I remember the other one. You had like a jumper. Anyways, I don't think it matters. Those 2 assignments are excellent. Let's dress them up a little bit. I don't think you need to go over the top, but let's just work on that. That I think is probably your biggest bang for your buck, because I think you're pretty much done. Unless Professor Caldwell has some notes for you. But I don't think there's too much to do in this. You just have small things. As far as small things you can do. So, sorry, Samar had written a note if you're wondering what all these questions are. I'll say, do you have any, one of his questions, do you have any recommendations on projects or stuff to focus on during break? Weaknesses to address or things to prep for Animation 3? So, yes, I agree. Doing small assignments is one of the best ways to learn, because you go through the whole process. You block it, you spline it, you polish it, and you finish it. So real small assignments. So what I would say is, certainly you could look at Animation 3 if you wanted to get a jump on that, and if you wanted to start playing with the face and you wanted to do expression tests, if you wanted to do lip sync tests, if you wanted to grab a piece of dialogue, that is one thing that I would probably do and recommend for anybody who wants to be an animator and you want to do character animation. Start getting your library of clips, of audio clips that you want to animate to. And in those, here's what I recommend. Again, keep them short. You know, if you can get a good clip that's 6 seconds, 7 seconds, 6 to 8 seconds, let's say that, that's great. A lot of clips, you know, people will grab like a 15-second clip. That's just too long. So you want short, but you also want to change. Like, if you have something, let's just say something that's yelling the whole time, like somebody who's super intense and he's angry and he's just yelling for 6 to 8 seconds, it could be a great line of dialogue, but it's not might not be a great piece to animate to, because it's just one note the whole time. It's always angry, or it's always high, right? Same thing if it's real quiet, right? So you want an opportunity to show a change. Do they go from one thing to the next, or one thing to another, one emotion to another? That's a great opportunity as an animator that you get to show that. The other thing that I would look for, you probably won't be able to find all of these things, or maybe you'll just be able to find one thing. Okay, you find a clip that sounds pretty cool and it's 6 seconds. Doesn't have the other things. Great. You found a clip that has a good change, but maybe it's just a tad bit too long. But the other thing that I would look for is, in a piece of dialogue, do you have like a pause where you're actually showing a character go through a thought process? So they're saying something, and then you get that room to breathe, and then they continue on, and you see the change actually happen. That's an important skill to be able to show. Can you show a character really thinking? So, start creating that library, gathering that library of clips, so that you have something to, you know, when it's time to work on a dialogue clip, that you've got that already ready. Because otherwise, if you're rushing through it, you're going to just grab the same old clips that everybody else grabs. Beyond that, what I would say is, what are the things that interest you or test you? You know, you've got to, you know, your animation is good. You know that. I've already said that, told you that. So what's the next step for you? What's something that's going to challenge you, but you can keep it into like a small test type form? You know, just like, it's like 2 seconds of whatever. Is that something that's super cartoony? Is that something where you're playing with multiples, or really stretching along those curves or the arcs? Something that's, could be something that's super subtle too, because most of your stuff is really fast and can be cartoony. Maybe it's a subtle moment. It could be something as simple as
I think it's always easiest to think of situations. Put your character in a, you know, if you just say put your character in a chair, well, that's great, but you might want to make that a little bit more specific with where are they and who are they. There's a great clip from or a test from Big Hero 6. I think they might show this in Animation 3 right at the beginning, but there's a great test from Big Hero 6 of all the characters who enter into the little restaurant, coffee shop, and sit down in a chair. And there's like, I don't know how many characters, like 6 or 7 or whatever. And they all do it differently because they're all unique. So when you can think about those animation along those lines of making things specific and making things unique, a lot of times it will drive decision making. How one character sits in a chair versus another character, if you can answer the questions of who they are, it tells you how they should do whatever it is they're doing. It informs it. So you can start thinking along those lines. You know, maybe that's something. So taking a really simple action, like really simple, like sitting in a chair, how do you make that unique or specific to the type of character? Those are things that you can do as well, if you want to do that. Otherwise, you know, pick silly actions and just test those out, or grab a face and just start playing with it. Those are the things that I would recommend. But ultimately what you need to do is pick something that you're interested in doing and not just checking a box, because if you're not interested in it and you're over break, and you might not want to finish it, or might get bored or something like that. Okay? Just make sure didn't miss anything. I didn't. All right. Anybody have any questions? If there's anybody still there? It's a quick one today, but we got through everything. All right. Looks like that's it. Well, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for bringing in your stuff, and also thanks for showing up on the later time and being patient with me. So I know I was a little bit late. For those of you in Animation 1, I'll see you on Monday, hopefully, if you're there in class. For everybody else, I'll see you later.